everyone. Thanks for joining me today on the Church Brand Guide podcast. This is Michael Persad. Today we are going to be looking at Facebook. Our episode today is just taking a look at this very large platform with over 1 billion people that are on there, and talking about some strategies that can help your church be effective in building your brand through Facebook. Facebook is one of those things that has staying power. It's not going away. That's one of the things that we've seen. There's always rumors that, hey, the next big thing is coming along and Facebook is not going to be around very much longer, or it's going to lose momentum. But now we've seen that Facebook just has staying power because so many people are a part of it. The next new thing is Snapchat. So if you haven't had a Snapchat account and your church doesn't have one, I would recommend setting something up now. It's kind of a land grab right now. Everybody's trying to set that up and make sure they're in position to utilize it once everyone and the big wave of people get on board with Snapchat. So just kind of a tip for today on this social media discussion. Snapchat is coming around, and so you should be a part of that. But Facebook is just going to be around for a long time. So just to unpack a couple of strategies with Facebook, basically you want to be givers on Facebook. As a church, you want to give as much as possible. In fact, there's a rule of thumb that for every time you ask for something, you should give away at least 12 things. And giveaways mean basically that you're maybe providing inspiration, messaging, helpful tools that are just helpful to people, that are there to serve people. So the Facebook strategy that any church should have is one of giving. Be generous on Facebook. Give as much as you possibly can. PDF downloads, message clips on videos, share stories. The other strategy would be to show people what's going on with Facebook. So in branding, what you want to do is help people understand who you are. You're trying to control the perception that people have of your church. So Facebook is very powerful to help that take place by allowing you to show what's actually happening in the church. Show outreaches. Have pictures that you can place on Facebook and show the church in action. The Bible says to let your good works shine before men. In Matthew chapter 4, Jesus is talking. He says, when you do that, then God is glorified. So use videos. Show highlight videos of different events, youth events, outreach events, and let people be aware of what's happening in the walls of the church. So with Facebook, give as much as you can, show as much as you can. And if you do need to ask for something, one tip that I have for you is that you create a Facebook group. This is where people go and they're part of a smaller group of people where you can accept them into this group for the church. And that's where you can ask for things. There's one church that we know of that whenever they do ask for help, maybe somebody's moving and they need people to just come and show up, they do that within the context of this group. So people that are part of the Facebook group are people who are more like inner core type of people. But the general church Facebook page is something that the church should be giving mostly on, and not really asking for things. Maybe you can promote a few things now and then, but the idea is just to give as much as you can. That's what attracts people to those pages, and it keeps your feed up high as people are on their Facebook pages. So the other thing that Facebook is super powerful with is they have ads, and you can pay for advertisements and target specific groups of people. Facebook has very powerful analytics, and you can take advantage of that with your ads. So one of the things that we found out in the surveys that we've been letting you know about in recent podcasts is that the most thriving churches that are growing the fastest are the churches that are actively trying to reach the millennial generation. So with Facebook, you can actually target those people. You can target people from 20 to 30 years of age and send out messaging specific for them. And then you can get feedback on the Facebook analytics and see what's happening with those ads. If you're not already set up on a Facebook business page as a church, make sure you do that. And that's going to give you feedback that you can use to know what's working on Facebook. It doesn't have to be an ad. It could just be anything you post on Facebook. You can start to get numbers, and so that you can make good decisions. One of the things that we found works extremely well on Facebook to be shared quite a bit is a highlight video of your church. So I would encourage you to put together a 60 to 90 second highlight video just showing the different aspects of your church, the worship experience, the lobby and interaction between people, the types of people that go to your church. The kids ministry is super important so that people can see that you have a great kids program, a youth program, any outreach events. Just include that in a highlight video that you can put out there. And we found that that's probably the most shared thing that we do with churches when we create some media. Is if we create that highlight video, it gets a lot of reach. In fact, we just recently did one, and I think it was over 18,000 people viewed the video, and it's just a typical church that we did this with. So make sure you're putting together great stories as well. So you can put together video stories. You could also place stories where you just put a picture of a person and then write text underneath of their story, and those get great traction as well. They get shared quite a bit, and they end up getting a lot of views on Facebook. Sermon snippets are also good things. If you have video, you could take maybe a quick 30-second little snapshot of a point in the sermon and place that on the Facebook page, and that usually gets a good amount of traction. Again, is allowing people to see who you are so they can check you out before they might even be thinking about attending your church. But be active on Facebook. Over 1 billion people are on Facebook, and every church needs to be active on Facebook and should have a strategy in place to utilize Facebook as much as possible so that you can generate activity and be able to get in front of those people. In fact, over 70% of people, of those 1 billion people, are active on Facebook every single day. So it's definitely a platform that you need to be checking out. And there's over 100 million people on Instagram now, which is now owned by Facebook. So they work together, Instagram and Facebook. So Instagram's another thing to check out if you're not on there. It's a very, very rapidly growing platform that allows you to reach a lot of people. In today's episode, we are actually going to unpack the check-in feature on Facebook. They like organic traffic, and checking in somewhere is a powerful tool that you can use as a church to help people to promote the church. So if you can encourage people to check in, then you're able to do a great deal of good in helping other people that aren't part of the church to be aware of your church. So we're going to unpack that today. In fact, our guest is part of a company called Causely that has developed a product called Reach. And with this product, they're able to reach more people, help churches specifically reach more people by using Facebook check-ins. And they unpack how this works. They're combining these check-ins with a donation towards a great cause that's in the world. So it's a really neat thing. And one of the big ideas that I want to put out there, and we discussed it in the podcast as well, is this idea of just being strategic to reach people. So Jesus said, be fishers of men. And the idea is that fishing is a skill that you have to develop. You have to know where the fish are and then go after the fish where they are. And Facebook is where people are. So if we're going to fish for men, then we need to have a strategy on Facebook and be able to reach people where they are. So this episode, the rest of this episode, is going to unpack one strategy you can look into as a church, whether or not you want to be part of the program itself that Jeff is talking about. That's fine, but I think the idea behind it is what's important. It's not necessarily about trying to get you to be part of their program. It's more about the idea of utilizing Facebook, and specifically Facebook check-in, to help your church reach more people. So let's get on the episode. I want to welcome Jeff Presley, and he's going to unpack for us this big idea of church marketing using Facebook check-in. All right, welcome to the Church Brand Guide podcast. Today I'm here with a special guest. His name is Jeff Presley, and he's going to share with us a really unique thing that he's doing in the marketing world and with churches. It's one of those things I came across, and it was such a remarkable thing that I asked Jeff if he would come on our podcast and share with us what he's doing. It's just something different, something new, something noteworthy that I think you church leaders out there will be glad to hear about, and hopefully it's a good fit for you. So Jeff, welcome to the podcast.
Michael, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks again. So we're going to talk about this thing that is called Reach that you guys have developed. It's a system to
Uh-huh.
help churches do marketing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a unique social media type of thing that's very organic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in your face. It's just a neat way of doing things. But before we get into that, I just wanted to unpack your story. How did you get to this point with your career and with marketing?
Yeah, it's interesting. I went to undergrad at Georgetown College. It's a small liberal arts school in Georgetown, Kentucky, just north of Lexington. If anybody knows where this central part of Kentucky is, that's where we're located. And so I went to Georgetown. I got a business administration and communications degree, and was really marketing and advertising is what I enjoyed the most. So I got out of school, had some internships, some jobs, was doing that. And while I was working in that sort of world, I was volunteering at my church. My home church here in Lexington is Southland. It's a rather large church. We have over 10,000 people, so they had a lot of room for volunteers. And I just continued to volunteer. The longer I did, the more roles and responsibilities they gave me. And honestly, they joked with me at one point and said, at some point we're going to have to pay you for this. And I just kind of laughed it off. In the meantime, I went to seminary and got a master's degree in leadership. And when I finished up, Southland came to me and said, "Hey, we'd like to create a position for you." So they brought me on, and I actually worked there for about 10 years and loved it. It was a great experience, but kind of was sensing a change of season that things were just different in my life. Felt the calling, just going in a different direction, not in an anti-church direction by any means, just doing something different with my life. And Cosley contacted me and said, "Hey, we have this opportunity with Reach. Would you be interested? We think you'd be a great fit. You have a background in business and marketing and advertising and that sort of thing. Plus, you've got a lot of experience with churches and ministry." And I said, "Wow, that sounds like the perfect fit for me." So that's how I ended up here at Cosley doing the Reach program and working with churches around the country. And it's just been a blast. I've been here just over 6 months, and I think what really caught my attention about stepping onto the Reach, the Cosley team here, is being able to help churches grow and reach more people. That's why Reach exists, and we have that super creative name, right? Reach. But that's what we're trying to do is help churches reach more people. And it's been a lot of fun just getting to talk with pastors and churches of all ages, sizes, denominations, just with the common goal of reaching more people. So that's kind of the elevator version of how I got to this point.
Yeah, that's great. It's neat to hear your background in the church. So you have this marketing background just with your education,
Mm-hmm.
but then you've had this 10-year experience working on a church staff.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think for any of us that have worked on a church staff, there's a certain dynamic and a flow that's very unique to working within a
Mm-hmm.
church. Is there anything,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, specific to that you can talk to when it comes to, when you're working within the church staff?
I think part of what just gives me a unique perspective on the churches that I'm working with, the pastors that I'm working with. I think one of the most common things is when I talk to a church and they say, "Okay, I'm going to have to run this by the elders, or I'm going to have to run this by other staff members, or if it's not the lead pastor, going to have to run it by the lead pastor." I understand that world. I sat in those meetings. I presented to the elders. I presented for us. We had an executive team. Again, a large church. We had those sorts of layers of accountability, and I get that there is a certain set of checks and balances that comes with a church, but also I think beyond that is having the perspective of ministry in mind, that marketing is you're advertising, you're trying to get people's attention, but there's also a ministry side to it, that this is for the kingdom. That's why we're doing this. The ultimate purpose of a church marketing itself, advertising itself, is ultimately to build the kingdom, to grow the kingdom, and to bring people in. And I think having that background of 10 years in the church going, you know what, social media is great if it's used for the right reason, and that is to help bring people into the church and to let them know about the church. So I think those are kind of the perspectives that I bring to work on a regular basis is, hey, I get where this pastor is, and certainly budgets are usually an issue with a church, and I get that too. There's not, tens of thousands of dollars laying out there to go reach people. And I think that's one of the things I love about what we do with Reach is we try and keep it very affordable. And so just understanding how the budget works inside the church. But ultimately, Michael, I think it comes back to that ministry mindset that all of this is about reaching people for the kingdom. And I assume we'll talk about it in a minute, also doing good for the kingdom, the mission projects that we set up and things of that nature.
Yeah, that's great. I think one of the big things with churches is just having or gaining a good mentality when it comes to marketing. We'll deal with churches, all kinds of different churches. Some churches get it and are doing a lot of marketing. Some churches are not doing a whole lot. And sometimes when we talk to them, we try to help them understand that it's actually a good thing to reach out beyond the walls. So is there anything that you can add to that conversation to help churches understand what marketing is and how it can help them?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think it's something really good to think about and to ponder. I know just, again, having spent 10 years there in the churches that we talked to, and I have friends at churches across the country who've planted churches or just who work at other churches I've met through ministry. I think sometimes there is a hesitancy there from churches that, hey, this is a church, this is a ministry, and I think marketing can come across as business and organizational, and I think that kind of causes people to repel a little bit, like, hey, marketing's a bad word, advertising is a bad word, and I don't see it that way at all. I see it as something that helps people find out about your church and ultimately brings them in and you're able to minister to them. I think if we don't have that, then we're missing out. I think there's a whole group of people, whatever that group looks like, who will not hear about the church unless we find a way to reach them. And I read blogs and posts online where it says, hey, just preach the gospel and your church will grow. While there's good meaning in that, how are the people going to know you're preaching the gospel if you're not telling them about your church? Like for me, that's what it takes is you have to help get the word out about the church, whether it's social media or other methods, website building, the old school method of going door to door or standing at the mall and passing out flyers, whatever it might be. All of that is part of getting people into the church. And I think, I try and, this may sound the old bracelet WWJD, but I don't think Jesus would pass up opportunities to have a Facebook page and say, hey, come over to the Mount this afternoon. I'm going to be preaching a sermon, and then thousands of people show up. Like, I think Jesus would probably do that. So that's sort of the perspective I think that's helpful, that there's nothing wrong with telling others about your church and marketing yourself in a healthy way.
Yeah, that's good. I think one of the things that I just recently have come across is this idea of fishing for men. Jesus basically, that's how he put it when he called his first disciples. He said, "Follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men." And
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I he's pretty intentional in just about everything he's said, and that's recorded in the Bible.
That's right.
And
yeah. Fishing
is a very strategic sport. And if you've ever been fishing, you got to know where the fish are and what they like. And today, reaching people is it's evolving. It's always changing. What's worked in the past probably isn't going to work in the future. But there's also amazing opportunities that the world have never seen before, that the church has never seen before. to reach
Hmm.
people in a very unique way.
Yeah. That's a great point. As you were saying that, just kind of the fishing analogy continued in my head is, Jesus and the disciples, they didn't just sit on the beach and wait for the fish to jump up out of the water and come to them. They got in the boat and they went out to them, and they didn't just use the same lure every time. You change your bait. Anybody that's ever been fishing, you change your bait based on the water, the temperature, the time of day, the fish you're going after. And I think there's a strong analogy there, a strong metaphor of the same is true for reaching people. You reach age groups differently. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. And you reach types of people differently. And I think the fishing analogy is a great one, Michael, that you brought up. And that's what Jesus would do. They would get in the boat and they would fish, and he'd cast your nets over on this side. Try it this way for a while. And I believe that's different. If we're going to reach everyone, we have to find different ways to do that. And so each of us, you guys, you have your strengths, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to have our strengths and ways that we can help as well. So that's a great thought that you put in my head. I'm sure I'm going to copy that and use it again sometime with your permission.
No, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's help churches for sure. No,
yeah.
I think another just thought as you were talking. When
Hmm.
Jesus was doing the Sermon on the Mount, he talked about
Hmm.
letting your light shine before men,
Hmm.
and let them see your
Hmm.
good works, so that they can come
Yeah.
to the Father, so the Father can be glorified.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we talk a lot about branding here as well as marketing, and one of the
Hmm.
things that
Hmm.
when it comes to branding especially is figuring out ways to let the light of the church shine in a dark world.
Hmm. Yeah.
Creating ways that your message, your calling, is simple and easy, so that people can see it. And Jesus
Hmm.
says to let your good works shine before men.
Right.
That's kind of he's talking about. Let them see good things happening. Let them see the good things your church
Hmm.
is doing. Let them be aware
Hmm.
of what's happening inside the walls of the church, so that they can be
Yeah.
attracted to want to be a part of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point as well. People need to see the light. We're called to be a light, and I think a light is attractive. I mean, if you think about a moth or other sorts of bugs, at night when you've got your porch lights on, everything that's swarming around it, that's what we want to do. We want to be a light and let people know about the good works that the church is up to. And I know you guys are doing that, and that's something that we focus on as well. Is we're trying to help churches give to a mission project each month. That is exciting. We help them celebrate. We give them content and say, hey, celebrate this on a weekly basis with your church. Tell the story of what your church is doing with these mission projects. And that's compelling. I think, my 10 years in the church, but then also on this side of it too, and I know you know this to be true, that there's a lot of people out there who are attracted to a church when they see that the church is doing good. Otherwise, it's like, oh, that church is just all about themselves. It's just all about, inclusivity and all that stuff. But when they see that they're coming outside the walls and they're doing good, that's attractive. Just like you're saying, you're shining your light in a humble way, and I think that's attractive to people. That compelling is the word that I would often use. Is what's compelling? What's going to cause someone, even if they just stop for a moment and say, that church is different, that's different. I didn't expect to see a church do that. That's pretty cool. And then the next thing you know, they're sticking their toe in the water, and then it's their leg, and then up to the waist, and then the whole body, they jump in. So, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and I think you guys, what you're doing with Reach, is very in line with our just this whole conversation of
Hmm.
let's try things, let's do things a little differently, let's see what our audience is doing, what people in the world are responding to, and then let's reach them
Right.
where they are.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
you're
for sure.
also at the same time you're doing that, you're allowing churches to become this attractive place to put out there
Yeah.
the good things that's
Hmm.
happening so that other people can
Hmm.
see it and then be drawn
Hmm.
and want to be a part of it, be compelled by it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's just jump into Reach and what it is. Can you tell us the story
Okay.
behind Reach?
Yeah, so our mission, kind of the heart behind why we do what we do, is to help churches grow and reach more people. And certainly, again, history in the church, but now this time too, it's not necessarily, hey, let's see how many numbers we can get, but it's because there's people out there who aren't in the church. So let's help get them in the church. Let's help churches grow and reach more people. That's what excited me about joining the Reach team, was working with churches across the country to help them do just that. So I think when people think of reach, it's probably best to think of two things. Think of it as outreach and think of it as missions. The outreach side is us using social media to get the word out about the church. And what we do is we allow the people of, well, empower is probably a better word, empower the people of your church to get the word out to as many people as possible on a regular basis, as affordable as possible. Basically, you brought this up earlier, casting a net, casting the biggest net you can to get people's attention about your church and draw them in. That's the outreach side of it. Then the missions side of reach, we set up a monthly mission project and once again empower the people of your church. It's not the pastor, it's not the staff doing all the work, it's the people of your church getting involved and giving back to that monthly mission project. That's the missions side of it. And how all this works, and Michael, I know you know this, but what we do is we focus in on Facebook check-ins. So if anybody out there doesn't know what a Facebook check-in is, you can just go to a business organizational Facebook page, and what people do is they can literally check into your location. So if I showed up at your church and you guys have a Facebook page, you've got check-ins enabled, I can check in to your church's Facebook page. And what happens when I check in, on average, 200 of my Facebook friends will see that I'm at Southland on a Sunday morning. And I'm letting them know, hey, I'm at Southland. Here's where I am. I can put a comment. I can say, excited to be at Southland this morning. We're doing the hot potato series and excited that we're going to be discussing, this topic or this series, or love my church family, or, so happy that Emily got baptized this morning, any of those things. And people are learning about my church when I check in on Facebook. Now, what makes Reach unique, and this is kind of the combo, this is our heartbeat, is that same Facebook check-in triggers a donation of what we call real world good to the mission project for the month. So this month, we're partnered with Compassion International, a wonderful organization most churches have heard of, very well respected. Because it's Mother's Day this month, we try to be very strategic about our causes. Every 5 check-ins on your church's Facebook page will provide a day of food for a mother and child in need. So Compassion is providing those meals. They know the mother and child in need based on local churches they've got on the ground in impoverished areas throughout the world. So we're motivating, we're empowering the people of your church to check into your Facebook page, because when they do, it triggers that real world good donation to a mother and child in need. And then your church benefits because they just told 200 of their friends they're at your church. So I'm going to stop there because I know that's a lot of information. I can share an illustration or a story, but that's kind of the groundwork for what we do.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks for sharing that. I first heard
Sure.
about Reach when I was sitting in the chair at my church, and
Yeah.
they announced one day that, hey, we're gonna be checking in on Facebook, and they encouraged everybody to get their
Hmm.
phone out and to check in on Facebook.
Right.
And that month,
Right.
they were saying that, hey, if we check in, for every 2 people that check in, we're gonna be able to feed a child, and I forgot where it was, but somewhere.
Hmm.
And it was
Hmm.
kind of cool. It was different. It was
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah.
and I was very curious. I pulled up from my
Mm-hmm.
phone and checked in. One, because
Mm-hmm.
I trust my church, so it's cool that they were doing
Sure.
something like this. So I did
Right.
it. And then a
Mm-hmm.
few weeks later, they announced, "Hey, we got to feed this amount of people because everybody was checking in
Mm-hmm.
during the course of a month."
Right.
So I thought just
Yeah.
that whole experience was really cool. I felt like it
Mm-hmm.
elevated my church in a way. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they were
Yeah.
um, they were being very creative in how they were spreading the word. I
Mm-hmm.
understood that it was a marketing thing. They didn't hide that either. They were just like, "Hey, we're trying to do some advertising in just a different way and do good while we're
Sure. Yeah.
advertising
Yeah.
ourselves." So it came across really genuine, and I thought it was
Uh-huh.
very just a neat just a way to go about it. So that's
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's part of what we're trying to do is that a person sitting in the seats goes, I can take out my phone and check in on Facebook and feed a child or help a mother and a child, or we've worked with the homeless, or we've provided clean water or audio Bibles, or again, we try and be very strategic about what we do, or I can sit on my phone and do nothing. And I'm presented with this decision. I can check in and do good, or I can sit on my phone and do nothing. And then of course the church benefits because when you check in, the church is a part of giving back, and the church is reaching on average 200 people at a time. So it's a really cool thing. We had a church, just a quick illustration for so they'll see how this works. So New Freedom Church is in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and they jumped on board recently. And when they did, one of the ladies in the church checked in. Within a few minutes, a friend of hers commented right below the check-in, "Hey, New Freedom Church, tell me about that. How does that work?" And so they had a little back and forth right there below the check-in on Facebook. She ended up inviting her to church. And that first Sunday, they already had a visitor because of someone saw the check in, inquired. Basically, the lady threw the bait out. Someone was interested. She lured her in, and I mean that in a positive way, of course, and then invited her to church, and she came. And that's the type of stories we get to hear over and over of people coming to church because, and this is the key part of the check-in, it's someone they know. It's a Facebook friend. It's someone that you know. It's not a paid ad. So there's familiarity there, but that's it. That's the beauty of the project.
I love that. I love the connection. You're using connections from people to people to
Mm-hmm.
promote what God's doing. So you're not like you're
Yeah,
saying.
for
I think
sure.
that's a huge point. That it's not whenever a church sends out a postcard mailer or maybe places
Mm-hmm.
an ad on Facebook or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a broadcast, like here's who we are type of
Mm-hmm.
thing. But your
Yeah.
this process is much more individual. It's
Mm-hmm.
and I
It
would
is.
think
Yeah.
it'd be much more effective because of that.
It seems to be. I was reading an article. I believe it's by Lifeway put this out back in mid-December, kind of leading into Christmas, and it was talking about the number one way to get people in your church leading up to Christmas. The top two ways are word of mouth and social media. Well, for us, we view what we do as both because it's not a church's post, which can be seen as advertising. If anybody's ever dealt with Facebook on Facebook ads or posting and trying to figure out their algorithms and all that other stuff, it can be challenging. It is more of a marketing effort. But with this, the Facebook check in is a friend to 200 of their friends saying, hey, here's where I'm at, here's what I'm doing. Come check this out. So for us, it essentially is the new way to do word of mouth. We don't walk out of church and call someone. We usually walk out of church and put it on social media. So we're trying to take advantage of the new way to do word of mouth. And of course, it's on social media. So we're trying to really tie those two things together. And that was, I believe, Lifeway. That was kind of the statistics they were looking at in December.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So,
Sure.
do you have any maybe just on the statistics side of things, whenever somebody checks in, maybe like how
Mm-hmm.
many people are touched by that?
So this is Facebook's statistics. We don't necessarily make these up, although we have others that we're tracking and paying attention to. But on average, 200 of that person's friends will get that check in their news feed. So if I checked into Southland, that's my church here in Lexington, if I checked into Southland, on average, 200 of my friends will see that check in their news feed. But here's the power of it, and this is the whole idea of going viral, of course. If any of those friends like it, you can click the like button, comment on it, or they at mention someone, or they share it, whatever they do with it, that number then continues to go up exponentially. And that's the whole idea of going viral, is it's now spreading from person to person. So if my wife likes my check-in, now I'm starting to spread into her friend list, her contacts, and then it continues to spread from there. So that's why, like for New Freedom Church, let's just stick with the same example. This is a church of 90. They had about 60 people check in on their first Sunday, and they reached, through Facebook tracking that we do with your Facebook page, they reached over 14,000 people with those 60 check-ins. So it's just this whole idea of going viral and spreading and going from there. And then that following Sunday, they had another individual and a family show up who said, "Hey, we heard about you through your Facebook check-in." So Pastor Jimmy was excited because he had two individuals and a family in a week and a half of kind of using the program. But that's sort of the statistic. That's how it grows. And Facebook, there's a little insight here. Facebook loves the check-in, and this is what they call it, because it's organic reach. It's me as an individual telling other individuals what I'm doing, what my behaviors are. And we all know, especially those of us in the church, that people's behaviors are most determined by what their friends are doing and liking. Well, Facebook knows that too. So they want those check-ins to drive people's behaviors, because then they're able to say, "Hey, Facebook is, very powerful. It's very strong." And of course, we just want to capitalize on that and say, let's use that for the church's advantage. So that's a little bit of insight of why that check-in is valued by Facebook.
One of the reasons that I was excited about having you on the podcast is we talk with churches a lot, or we work with them, and every church knows that they should be doing something on Facebook. They should have a page,
Sure.
and they should be doing something. It should be active,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't always have a good strategy of what to do on Facebook. I thought
Right.
this product, this reach, what you guys are doing, it's just a great
Mm-hmm.
way for a church. Maybe it's just a starting point for some of them to start to say,
Sure.
hey, this is something we can do that's a consistent method that we can use to utilize Facebook and begin to leverage the power of social media.
Yeah, that's a good point, Michael. I talk to churches, and I tell them straight up, if you don't ever partner with Reach, have a Facebook page, keep it active, use it to your advantage. Here's why. There are billions of people on Facebook, and 70% of those check it daily. So think about that for a minute and let it blow your mind. Billions of people around the world are on Facebook. Facebook will tell you 70% of those are on it daily. Where else can you find a bigger pond or lake or ocean of people to fish from? The church better be involved. Like I can imagine Jesus being like, you mean you're not fishing in that pond? I just think, gosh, the church needs to get involved. And I'll be honest, Michael, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't always like Facebook. I look through my news feed and I go, oh, it can be irritating or sad or frustrating, but we've got to be out there. We've got to be reaching people. Paul would say, reach them any way that you can. And so, I would encourage people, have a Facebook page, enable check-ins, use your post regularly, put photos and videos on there, get creative. By all means, get in there and start finding ways to reach people. So for sure, I think you're exactly right. There is a negative side to social media, but you could find a negative side with sending out direct mailers or knocking on doors. There's all kinds of things. So I would say, get in there and use it and find a way to help grow the kingdom because of it.
Yeah, and it's just an idea. You don't have to use Reach necessarily to
Hmm.
check in and have you
Oh,
people
sure.
check in.
Mm,
It was just
that's
a
right.
it's just a great idea, and I think you guys,
Hmm.
what's unique about you is that you're teaming up to do these other great projects around the world. Can
Hmm.
you can
Hmm.
you maybe share just about the projects around the world and kind of how, what type of an impact you've made?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to do that. So one of the things that I tell people, if you don't even want to think about the marketing side of it, gosh, use Reach because we've got a mission project going every month that you're helping the least of these. So for us, it's kind of Matthew 25. Very simply, Jesus said, as you do for the least of these, you're doing it for me. And so I tell people, we are looking for the least of these and how can we go help them? That's what we're on the lookout for. So, Compassion International, wonderful world class organization who helps us find the least of these. So, we've done days of care, and this month we're helping mother and child. Convoy of Hope is a great organization where last month we helped feed kids in impoverished areas like Haiti and Honduras, where Convoy of Hope has partner churches on the ground. Um, I was trying to think of Northwest Haiti Christian Mission is one that's close to us here in Lexington, Kentucky, because we know people with that organization. Later this summer, and the month escapes me at the moment, one check-in will provide a week of clean water for family. Like that's incredible. Like go get involved in those type of things. There are other organizations, Save the Children. We're going to be helping do a day of school and school supplies for kids in countries. They don't just get to walk around the corner and go to a public school. Someone has to help provide for that day of school and their school supplies, and so those check-ins are helping provide that. So just some great organizations. Last year, we partnered with Audio Scripture Ministry and helped provide audio Bibles. Now that's very expensive and costly, so it takes a lot of check-ins, but still, we're putting the Bible in people's hands. So, that's just kind of some of the things that we're able to do. We try and jump in where necessary. So that when there was the earthquake in Nepal, we jumped in and said, "Hey, let's find somebody to partner with and provide meals for some of those refugees who are without homes and food." So we try and be on the spot too when necessary. If a crisis arises, man, let's figure out how to get in the game there. So that's sort of some of the projects we're doing around the world, and we have domestic causes in January. We did coats for people in need, so homeless or maybe single moms with multiple kids, and they couldn't provide coats for them. So we do things domestically as well.
Yeah, I love it. So you're teaming up with organizations that are very reputable, been around, they do great stuff. And also, I love the fact that you change it from month to month. I think it's just kind of a neat,
Hmm.
it's not always the same thing. It's something
Hmm.
different. And if churches wanted to
Yeah.
use that strategically, they could,
Hmm.
have a celebration each month for
Oh,
something
sure. Uh-huh.
different that they've helped to accomplish.
Yeah, we give you plenty of content, Michael, and we do Facebook posts that you click a button and share it. We do videos, we do printouts that you put around the church. We do emails and newsletters that we write, and you just cut and paste and send it or post it wherever you want. And then, of course, you get the weekly slides for your screens that tells your church the good they're doing, like you experience firsthand, just so people can celebrate and say, "Hey, way to go! You guys fed this many moms and kids, or you provided this much clean water, or this many winter coats. Keep up the good work. Let's keep doing this together." It's ultimately it's not about reach, it's about what you as a church are doing for others. And then of course, every time those check-ins happen, you're sending out word to hundreds and then of course quickly thousands of people.
Excellent. Well, Jeff, thanks for spending time with us and unpacking
Oh,
this
sure.
whole approach that you're
Yeah.
doing with Reach. It's been
Yeah,
great.
happy to. Yeah.
Is there a good way for people to follow you? Maybe a blog, Facebook, anything that you would have that they can follow?
Uh-huh. Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy for them to do that. We have our Facebook page, and of course, shocker, that's what we use the most. And if they searched for it, it's Reach by Causley, and I'll spell it. Just think of the word cause, Causely. So Reach by Causley is our Facebook page. We update it all the time. We'd love to have people check us out there. And if anybody's interested in jumping on board, we'd be happy to give you your first month for free. Just mention you heard me on the podcast, and we'll do the first month for free. We'd be happy to do that.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. That's a
Oh, sure.
great offer. Well, thanks again for joining us, and I hope you guys are going to be doing some amazing work this year. I'm sure you are, but I hope this helps our churches and just begin to think outside the box a little bit on different ways to use specifically Facebook to help promote and market your church.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Michael. I appreciate it greatly, and I'm sure we'll be in touch some more. But it was a true pleasure.
All right, Jeff. Thanks again. Have a good day.
All right. You as well.
Wanted to say thanks again to Jeff Presley with Reach by Causley for joining us on the podcast today. Causley is a great marketing company. They do a lot of other things beyond church, but Reach is their program that they've developed to help churches specifically to begin to reach more people. So it's a great company, and I'm so glad that Jeff came on to unpack for us what they're doing to help churches. He introduced this idea to us of Facebook Trek-In, and it's just something that I thought it was great to share with everyone, especially since Facebook is such a huge part of our world. And if you're not on Facebook, then you need to be on it. And when you commit to being on it, you've got to have a strategy in place. So checking in is something you can do. Whether or not you use a program like Reach, you could just do that in your church, and there's going to be some great benefits that you can start to get from that. And if you do want to use Reach, they've just got a program put together that not only allows you to get the benefit of the checking in, but also allows you to be a giver and give to projects that are around the world. So it gives a way to celebrate wins. There's a saying that what you celebrate is what you get more of. So in a church, it's great to have wins that you can celebrate. So Reach just provides a way to allow that to happen. We are not an affiliate of Reach. It was just an idea that I thought was neat. So I asked Jeff to come on the program, and he agreed to do it. So it's just one of those things where we're not connected with them, I guess, in a affiliate way. So just wanted to make that clear that it's just something we wanted to share so that it helps you at least get a new idea that you can start to do with your Facebook advertising. So thanks again for Jeff to give us that promo package. He said there at the end that if you sign up and let him know, if you contact Reach and let them know that you heard about them through our podcast, the Church Brand Guide podcast, then there's a free month where you could check out the service and make sure you like it. So that was great. I appreciate Jeff doing that for our audience. So every week I come up with a resource, a book of some kind that I can present that helps to maybe expand your thinking in some way. Today I was trying to find a good book that just relates to our topic, and the book that I selected was written by Andy Stanley. It's called The Principle of the Path. And in the book, Andy unpacks this big idea that in order to get to your destination, you have to be on the right path. So it sounds simple enough, but he really unpacks that in a way that's very practical. Just saying the idea that if you want to get somewhere in your life, with your church, then you just have to make sure you're on the right path. And then day after day, take steps on the right path that gets you to the destination. So it takes a while to get to a destination, and you just have to stay faithful and persistent. He makes the analogy of a map. If you want to get to Miami from Boston, you've got to get on the right highway that takes you down south. If you're not on the right highway, you go in a different direction, then it doesn't matter how much you want to be in Miami, how much you can envision the sunshine and the beach and the sand between your toes. It doesn't matter how much you want and desire that thing. If you're not on the right path, you're never going to get there. So in church context, I think the marketing principle is just something that we can pull from. Whenever you want to reach people, then you have to do the things that are going to allow you to reach people. So people are on Facebook. You need to have a Facebook strategy so that you can reach people using that outlet that we have available to us as a church. So the book, again, is called The Principle of the Path, and Andy does a great job throughout the book of just unpacking, especially in your personal life. If there's some things, some goals that you want to try to accomplish, then you've got to make sure you're on the right path so that you can get there. And it also applies, again, to just organizational goals for your church, just making sure you're checking yourself to make sure you're on the right path to get you where you want to be. So that's our resource for today. The book is called The Principle of the Path. And I just wanted to give you a friendly reminder on our blog, the Church Brand Guide blog. You can reach out to us and ask any questions that you have. We love to see your questions coming in through our contact page or maybe through the comments on the blog post itself. We put show notes, so all the different notes that we have from each episode is on the blog, and even including links to different resources that are mentioned throughout the episode. So make sure you check that out. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our list so we can let you know when new things are released. We recently released a marketing survey that we've had a huge response on. Many of you guys have taken that survey. If you haven't heard about it, basically you take it in about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes at the most, and then it spits out a score, and then there's a video at the end that helps you understand what your score means and how it relates to other churches who are rapidly growing, or maybe even those that are in rapid decline, and anything in between. So it helps you gauge where you're at as a church with your marketing efforts. Just gives you some perspective to take a look at. So a lot of people have enjoyed that, and we've gotten a great response from it. So join us on iTunes as well. Give us a review there. We love to read those reviews. We've had 5 stars, and it's great to know that the show is helpful and benefiting people so that we can just be energized to keep going. And I'm excited that we've got some amazing guests coming up that I think you're going to really enjoy in the next few weeks. We're trying to think outside the box a little bit, bring some new perspectives to the conversation of branding and church marketing and everything that relates to that. So I'm very excited about that. So thanks again for being a part of our broadcast with the podcast. I'm just thrilled and excited about where God's taking us, and I'm glad that you're a part of it. So I'll see you next time.